truly want to build something large. I can't even tell you what that is. It's not a unicorn. A unicorn would be too small.
I mean, you were only 18. You were just starting out at university, but you were also managing night events. How did it feel like?
The first event was great, but we got screwed over by the Mafia and lost everything on the first night.
What's one hard reality that no one prepares you in being a founder?
No one cares about you unless you deliver value.
What's the biggest lie students tell themselves?
Probably that studying in general is safe.
When everything is stripped away, what would you hope people will remember about you as a person?
That I was a good guy.
Welcome to a new episode of the Once Upon a Student, a place where we uncover the untold stories of extraordinary individuals. Today's guest is Daniel Keinrath. His CV honestly reads like a modern business thriller. He started as a semi-professional League of Legends gamer and a nightlife promoter organizing extraordinary events. He then pivoted from parties to software, building the edtech platform GetNano, managing over 100 million euros in ad spend, and successfully selling the company in 2024. What for many sounds like a dream, like an end goal, for Daniel it was just a starting point. After a trip to Silicon Valley, he returned to launch Fonio AI, a company revolutionizing customer service with voice AI. He bootstrapped it to 300,000 euros in monthly revenue with a team of just 12 people before raising 3 million euros in one of Europe's largest angel rounds during the last months. He's a master of selling before building, a vocal critic of bureaucratic hurdles, and living proof that street smart is just as valuable as a degree. Welcome to our podcast, Daniel.
Thanks for the warm words. Pleasure to be here. Hi.
Hi. And Daniel, I mentioned in the intro that you spent countless hours in gaming lobbies. What did those gaming lobbies give you emotionally back then?
To be honest, it was just super fun. So I always had this strive in me where I just wanted to get better and better and better. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs that I talked to were like gamers in the past. And get to a point where we got pretty competitive and also played like tournaments, and it was super fun. And I always tried to organize like next tournament and put the team together. And I think like without my gaming past, even though like during that time, I think my mom was quite worried because I spent like sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day playing computer games. Without that past, I probably wouldn't have become an entrepreneur.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
And it's also very refreshing because gaming is often correlated with negative attributes like laziness, like not being social, and you're the living proof that it's not like that.
It's super dangerous, to be honest. Like I think it's I had a clean cut with, I don't know, the age of 15 or so when I spent half a year in the US. That really helped me a lot to like get rid of also a little bit of my addiction. But at the same time, I think it can be super helpful in building a character. And you learn from a very young age onwards on what success means, on how to be competitive, etc. At the same time, it's still a computer game, so I need to be careful how I praise it. But I guess for some people, for me, it worked wonders.
That's awesome. And what kind of skills do you took from that time?
I think I became very decisive. So I learned how to make decisions super fast. And management, I was also like in our team, I was the shot caller, and like at the end of the day, you need to, for a group of, it was just 5 people in real time, just say who needs to do. Guess those were 2 core skills.
That's awesome. So you didn't struggle like many of the founders at the beginning to delegate things, or did you struggle as well?
Of course, I also struggled because like that was playing computer games. When you start your first company, it's different because it wasn't super hard for me to let go of tasks that I should do, but it also like took me a while to understand that finding someone who's 80% of what I want to be is also good enough. And the good thing is today with Fonio, I only hire people that are better than me. So I guess that changed over the time, and I now feel very happy with delegation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And was it, at which age did you thought first time that you want to become a founder one day?
So I originally thought, I've reflected a lot on this because I have this very high urge inside me where I truly want to build something large. I can't even tell you what that is. It's not a unicorn. A unicorn would be too small.
Too small.
Yeah, significantly large. And I thought that came I never was bullied in school, but I also never was this super cool kid. And I feel like maybe like this urge of being relevant, I think that drove maybe that inside me. But I actually like talked to my mom about this the other day, and she was like, nah, like when you were in elementary school, like the other kids, they wanted to become like the normal stuff, firefighter, astronaut, etc. But I always said, I want to become a boss. So I guess I always had that in me, and just became larger and larger over time.
Mm. Which is also a wonderful thing, because being a boss, being a manager requires also a lot of responsibility. So it's amazing that you had that spirit already at such a young age.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And also at a very young age, I mean, you were only 18. You were just starting out at university, but you were also managing night events. How did it feel like, and how did it happen?
So when I was done with high school, it was clear to me, because I already spent like every summer and almost every weekend with Claudia, who I eventually ended up co-founding GetNano together, which we did later onwards, on building like a random software project. Don't want to go too much into detail, but it was like a tar pit idea. But we were very convinced that this would be huge. Anyway, when I was always the youngest in my class in high school, and Claudio was a little bit older, and he also attended a technical school. So there was like a 2-year gap from me graduating and him not graduating. So for me, it was a question, okay, what next? So I enrolled in the University of Economics, because we're like, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I guess I need to study economics. That will teach me on how to become an entrepreneur. And at the same time, I was like, okay, realistically, quite young now. What am I actually good at? Where's my network? And that was playing computer games. But for me, it was clear I don't want to become a pro player. And the other part was like I went out every now and then, but not crazy. I also wasn't like in the scene 100%, but I had my best friend back in the day, like Raphael. He was always like kind of involved as a promoter into like some clubbings, and we were the same age. So I was like, yeah, he might be a good like fit that we do events together. And we started out hosting only clubbing for like 200 people or so. The first event was great. Like the everything was sold out. But we got screwed over by the Mafia and lost everything on the first night.
Wow.
That also taught me like this. I think events taught me a lot about life and people in general. Like today, when I hire for Fonio, I feel like a very strong sense for human people, and when our people like are bullshitting, and when someone's truly honest, and when someone's motivated and driven. I think that came from the past of events, because that happened to me multiple times where I got into intense situations, because it's just part of nightlife. Then like for the second event, we were like, okay, that happened we got screwed over, but we clearly got it in us. Let's go bigger. Then we're like, let's try to book a German rapper. We did that. It was very cringe. We booked K1 back in the day. Like he was a very hyped rapper.
Yeah, I remember.
We spent all our savings on it, like everything we got from our grandma, mom, aunts, whatever, over the past 18 years on doing that booking. But we really screwed up the marketing, and like the break even was at 2,000 people. We booked an event location that fit 3,000 people, and we're like, that's easy money. Mm-hmm. It was like one of the toughest events of my life, because only 50 people showed up. I was the first one to leave. That was so cringe. Because like he didn't even want to perform, which was totally understandable. So we got everyone from the event into like the backstage, random people, and he was just sitting there and like singing and playback. And that was very awkward for everyone.
How did you felt at that moment?
Very, and it was just very uncomfortable. But for me, it was always clear, like, okay, that happened. Let's move onwards. Never thought about quitting. Always also. When I talked to my mom and dad about this, like they were always super supportive. But still, I felt a little bit ashamed at the same time. So it was like always, hey, no, we're just hitting a break even. No worries, all good. But I always wanted to keep going. And after like half a year of doing very unsuccessful events, all in these, like there were more stories of these, I still was at the point. It was a little bit after New Year's Eve, still studying for like these first stay up exams at the university. I was like during, I think, like while studying for law exam, I was like, this is actually not what I wanted to do. Like I want to be an entrepreneur. Decided at around midnight at New Year's that I want to drop out and go hardcore on events. That was a great decision. We ended up becoming one of the largest event agency when it comes to clubbings, at least in Austria. Scaled up to, at peak times, we did 200 events per year. Amazing time also when you're just like 18, 19, 20 years old. And that was a good basis for all my other entrepreneurial ventures, yeah.
Yeah, getting such learnings at such a young age is tremendous.
Yeah, that was very fun.
I'm speechless, honestly. You mentioned so many crazy stories. I don't even know where to dig deeper, because it's crazy. So, what made you going back to university, honestly? Because you told me that you later on finished your degree then in economics.
Yeah.
And you had such a crazy role with so many successful events. Tell me more. What happened then?
To be honest, just social pressure that I put. No one, like my parents were always super cool with me. I only put that on myself. For me, was because all my friends were studying, and to me, like I was quite lucky. The events were super profitable, and like we were at a good place. But to me, like there was always this thought in my head, and it was like, what if this doesn't work out? Then I'm just like this guy who spent 2-3 years on hosting parties while the other ones actually took life seriously and studied, and then, I don't know, became really successful later onwards. That was like the pressure that I put myself on, and I didn't want to be this guy. I didn't want to be the party guy. So this is why I enrolled, I think like 1 or 2 years after I dropped out again. And I went on to study a little bit on weekends or night. And to be honest, I always hated it. Like, 'cause for me, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's this love-hate relationship because I'm also thankful. But for me, it was a tough time because it's so exhausting. Like when other people relaxed, for me, it was okay. Let's study for this exam. And I always knew I never actually needed it because like I was quite successful with what I was doing. But that pressure that I put myself on, that kept me going, and eventually I think I should have won the award for the longest specialty degree ever at the VU. I think it took me like 7.5, 8 years to finish my normal business economics specialist degree. But then I eventually ended up getting that. That was funnily, like a little fast forward, the same day that I signed actually the exit of the startup of GetNano then. Because and at the same day, I randomly had also the day where I got my bachelor's degree.
Did it happen on purpose? Or
No, that was super random. I was like, okay, I guess I'm an adult now.
But that's awesome. And tell me a bit more about GetNano. How did the idea came up, and why did you decide to sell it after finishing your degree? I mean,
no, I didn't want to sell it because of the degree.
Okay.
So the original idea was, so I always wanted to do something scalable. Like, again, I never wanted to be the event guy. I always wanted to do something larger. So this is why I started GetNano. The initial idea was very naive, to be honest. The concept was, what if we would make everyday people into influencers? So like, I don't know, everyone loves a brand. I don't know, you love Coca-Cola. Instead of getting paid because you're just a very small creator, you're just an everyday guy who loves it and might promote it to your friends. You just get a few, I don't know, 50 pieces of Coca-Cola for it. That was the original idea. Super naive. But it kind of still worked. So we raised a small pre-seed round for that and worked on it very intensely for 1.5 years in the dark to build the perfect product, what we thought was perfect. We never talked to customers, of course. To then launch, and it actually kind of went well to a certain degree. We just had a super high churn because our customers, like, they loved the concept, but as when they used us, like, we didn't create like this lasting value for them. But this taught me a lot about go-to-market, that phase, because if you have a lot of churns, a lot of customers leave you, you need to fill up the funnel in order to keep the company growing. And we eventually we grew, and we grew to 10 people also. So but after a while, we were like at a point where this is not sustainable, of course. Then we pivoted into user-generated content. For everyone that doesn't know what that is, it's a very authentic form of advertisement. So if you scroll through Instagram or TikTok, you see a lot of these ads where it seems like it's just shot on a phone, and maybe like even a customer is like almost acting like a testimonial. These are UGC ads, user-generated content ads, but they're super scripted. And we were one of 2 large platforms for that in the DACH region. We then eventually decided to sell the company to a German media house at the beginning of 2024.
Yeah. Congratulations to that.
Thanks.
And a funny story, I think we were one of your influencers back then.
Really? Okay, that's funny.
Because we were building a motivational page, which also grew quite well. I mean, we had like 40,000 followers and 2 million views per week.
Okay, cool.
And I think, I'm not sure, but I'm 90% sure that we were also under contract with you, because we were also connected with many like brands to get like product samples to promote it.
Yeah, okay, amazing.
It was
There's a good chance.
Very interesting phase of my life, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would be like, okay, clean cut. Now I enjoy 3-5 years of beautiful life, make world travel. But you travel to the US with a certain attitude that you want to search for the next idea. Like, one chapter closed.
Yeah.
Come on, next one.
Yeah. I was very certain that I just want to keep going. Like, I guess other people have like hobbies like playing soccer. For me, my hobby is also at the same time my work. I love building companies. I get so much energy from it. And I always wanted to do something really large. For example, for me, it was clear that I didn't ever want to touch anything in the advertisement sector because it's too small. Because like every 16-year-old can start an ad agency and be a competitor in some form to you. So I was like, this is like too small and too transactional. And I was searching for something larger. But at the same time, like also was at this stage where I had a lot of freedom. I also traveled a lot, but so I wasn't I didn't have a precise plan where I knew what was next. I was like, okay, I just want to explore, because I had a lot of friends in the US through Sigma Squared, where I met a lot of them in New York and San Francisco, and I was just living life. So it wasn't holiday. I was just trying to work from an office, and because I still had the event company on the side. This happened over all these years, so I still had a little bit of work, and I was just trying to experience how life there would be. And during the time, there was a batch of Y Combinator, which is one of the most prominent startup incubators in the world, where like 60% of all startups were doing something in the voice AI sector. That was the first time where this really got prominent. That was right the time where it was there in San Francisco. So that was, for me also, it struck me, it was like, okay, this might be something. Like it wasn't 100% certain that I would then pursue Fonio, but the idea kept growing in me.
It caught your curiosity.
Yeah. And then eventually I ended up in summer 2024 co-founding it together with Matthew. I love this guy. Matthew is my amazing co-founder. One of the best engineers, at least in Europe, probably in the world. Crazy guy. But also one of the very few people who are technically really, really good. Like he's the his hobby was speed coding for a long time. So he's like the vice European champion of speed coding or web development. But at the same time, he also led large organizations as CPO and knows how a product truly generates value. And this is so rare with CTOs, because a lot of CTOs fall in love with the tech. But the tech is just a way of like, you just want to create value in order to generate revenue, which sounds very boring, but this is what at the end of the day you do as a company. So great guy. Still had to convince him to start Fonio. He said no 2 times, but then eventually said yes, and then we got off, and the rest is history.
How did you guys met?
Through Sigma Squared. That was like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so long journey until the founding. And when did you become convinced that this idea might actually work out?
Quite soon, because one of my learnings was like, it was clear to me that I would never, ever, ever just try to build the perfect product before I talk to users. So this is why I was so convinced, was actually selling Fonio before building a product. So Matthew said no at the beginning, because he just came out of his previous role as CPO of a scale-up. And he had a certain number in mind of net worth that he always wanted to reach. And he just reached that number. And I was like, okay, now I always worked like 70, 80 hours a week. Now I need to chill a little bit. And like just a few days later, I called him up. I was like, we got to do this. And he just said, no, never, ever going to do this. And then I actually just decided on, like, I created a landing page, just bought a Webflow template for like 200 euros and spend $1,000 on ads. I created ads myself, where I was in a camera, like pitching the concept of Fonio, that AI would like take over your phone calls. Made it a little bit entertaining, like within 15 seconds, so that people would actually, like when they scroll through Instagram, stop and go on the website. And there was like a lead form where you could enter your contact details, and then I would call you up. And I did that, and it worked super well. And I had nothing. I only had a PowerPoint that I built, but people were willing to pay me to build Fonio almost like an agency, just tailored to them. So I didn't even pitch like, hey, we have this platform, but I just pitched the idea of voice AI in general.
So major customers became your first investors, as like they say like that.
No, I guess first customers were first customers.
Okay.
But it was super important to me. Like I didn't want to screw them over. I didn't have anything, right? But for me, it was super important to actually like make them pay. I charged something upfront and see what would happen. And there were enough people doing that. So I called Matthew up again, and he was like, okay, this is actually too good to be true. Let's do it. And then, because he's so insane, we built the product quite fast. Our first proper customers on the product by October 2024. We bootstrapped, so we didn't have any investors on board. We had first 10 grand a month of revenue in January 2025, so last year. In June last year, we're at 100 grand a month. In October, 200. Now we're a little bit above 300 and continuing to grow at like 30% per month. And the goal is to reach 5 million a month or 60 million ARR by the end of the year.
Oh, that's crazy. And tell me more about your product so our listeners can also understand it a bit better.
So essentially what we do is we build a platform where you can create an AI phone assistant quite easily. Our target audience are SMEs, so non-technical people. So we try to make the product as simple as possible. And the way you create your agent is within a few simple steps. First one is you select the voice and give the AI instructions on how to run a conversation. We also have a lot of templates for that, so it's quite easy to do. Then you give it information about your company. So if someone has a question, like about your pricing, if there's it's a parking lot, that kind of stuff that AI is able to answer. Then you give it the possibility to conduct actions like call forwardings, schedule appointments. You can connect it to your calendar. And every call gets transcribed. So you see what your customers actually talked with AI, and you can get that via email, the transcripts, or you send it directly into your CRM, for example, HubSpot, that you see what customer actually called you. And then in order to get that working, we connect it with a phone number. You can just purchase it also directly over our platform and connect it within one click with the agent. And then what happens is, like, when you call this number, the agent always picks up and can conduct multiple phone calls at the same time. So what our clients usually do is they just use call forwarding in their old systems, usually their old systems because they're SMEs, to do call forwarding from their main number where people call to the AI number. So it's also super easy to implement. So like everyone can do it. Yeah, that's it. That's the product.
That's nice. And tell me more, how did you sell a product without having the product?
Super straightforward. It's just very important because at the end of the day, a SaaS business, software as a service business, justifies itself by answering one question. That is, should I make or buy as a company? I could sit down, like everyone could sit down and build Fonio themselves. The question is, when will there be a return of investment? For large enterprises, there might be some. If you have like a call center of 500 people, it might actually make sense to build Fonio yourself to a certain degree. But if you're an SME, you can't spend a few millions on building that yourself. So it actually makes sense to just pay a couple $100 to guys like us. And this is what I wanted to test out. I was like, what I did is I sold it essentially a little bit like an agency service, whereas like it sounded a little bit too good to be true. Yeah, we'll build you this. It only costs a few €1,000. You want to do it? So I didn't need to show anything because it was clear to the customer that I didn't have anything. I basically would tailor make that for the customer. And when we then launched Fonio, we of course refunded also large parts of what they gave us. But it was very important to validate, and we never disappointed them because the product that we actually delivered was better than what they expected. Yeah.
Oh, that's a crazy journey.
Yeah.
And how did you grow this company? Because I had already many guests talking about corporate identity, searching for the right people. What was your strategy? You have already over 12 employees right now in the company?
Oh, no, it's 20 now.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So it's ready.
Yeah. What was the strategy to grow it? I think there were multiple aspects, of course, but I think one funny one is, so Matthew and I decided that we don't want to work with investors straight away, and we came from this lucky position where we both had a little bit of cash where we're like, okay, we want to put that into the company. But we actually never did. That's quite funny because we just were like, okay, we need to grow fast. Let's increase our go-to-market costs, so for advertisement, for sales, etc., by 30% a month, just like by default. So we need to grow more than that, otherwise we'll lose money, and if we will lose money, we need to chip in. And the good thing is that we always grew more than 30% per month. Only 1 month we had to chip in a little bit. But that mindset, like made us grow faster than our VC-backed competitors. And I do it over and over again like that. Yeah.
And have you been looking out for certain characteristic traits within the people you hire, or?
Yeah. So hiring is something that we take super seriously. Like I just told you before we got into the interview that everything I do at the moment is like I interview people all day long. So if someone watching this, like please apply if you're good. And if what I say now resonates with you. So I think the core trait that we're looking for when we're hiring someone is ownership. We're growing so fast at the moment that we don't have the time to micromanage. So at the end of the day, I want people that own a certain sector of our company. That could be at the moment design, performance marketing, engineering, sales, blah. And within this role, we give everyone in our company unlimited budget. We want everyone to be like an entrepreneur inside the company. And we only work with super excited people who feel like they can actually do the work of their lifetime with Fonio. We demand a lot, because if we give so much ownership, there's no way that you can go at home at like 5 p.m. or so. To be honest, I never wanted to work as much as I'm doing right now, but I feel like we can truly win. We can truly win like this AI phone agent game for SMEs worldwide. And this is super exciting. And you get so much ownership. Like we don't care when you're on holiday what your time tracking is, etc. We only care like, do we feel like you truly own, like this is your baby. So this is the number one trait that we're looking for. And apart from that, we work super transparent. So everyone inside the company knows how much money we have on our bank account, what our core KPIs are. Just you can ask anything all the time. We're very transparent with our feedback. Then we're a team, not a family. So you need to perform. I think many startups make the mistake that they view their company as a family. That's not right. Inside a team, you need two things. You need the best people, but they also need to be nice. Because if you only have A players, but all of them are rude or not funny to work with, then it's like a football team. Like they won't perform. But the other way around, if everyone's just funny and not good, also doesn't work. So you need both. Yeah. And if you're not performing, then you're on the bench and we try to get better. And if not, then you're out. And it's very important to live that. Yeah. So this is how we run the company. It's super successful so far. And I think a lot of people will start their own companies. Like a lot of our employees, I think, will start their own companies in the future as well.
I wanted to get there because I had already Bernhard Niesner here at my podcast.
Yeah, he's a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, who followed a similar strategy, and many of his employees became entrepreneurs in the future.
Cool. Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's the best thing that can happen to us.
I see many similarities when it comes to their corporate identity. And I'm curious also about you as a person, because you achieved already so many things at such a young age, and I honestly see that Fonio can become a very important company worldwide. But tell me more about you as a person. Was there anything you had to compromise for yourself being entrepreneur, or do you like, hey, I love it and it fulfills me already in itself?
Of course, I had to make sacrifices. Especially right now, I need to make a lot of sacrifices, but they're conscious. Because again, it gives me so much joy doing what I do that the compromise that I need to make is, I see fewer friends. I don't go out as much because I can't truly be hungover on a Sunday because I really need the energy otherwise I did that, for example, like this weekend I went out and I really regret it because I'm so exhausted because my days are so long, right? So I can't really truly do that at the moment. But I like it because it's a very conscious decision to do it. Yeah.
And how did it felt like going away from the bootstrapping to get investors on board. Did it change something within the development of the company, or?
No. This is why we also opted for doing an angel round. Because we had the option to do a proper VC round with a higher valuation also of the company. We probably would have raised between 8 and 10 million proper seed round in Europe. But we didn't want to do that because we wanted to keep the dilution quite low, because from a company stage we were actually already later than a seed stage, but before a Series A. So we didn't dilute a lot. When you work with angels, like these are super amazing people that support you, but they also give us a lot of freedom. So like the way we raised around was usually when you work with a VC, they give you a term sheet after a while where they set the terms. We did it the other way around. We set the terms. They were super fair because we were working with a bunch of angels, so we had to find terms where we wouldn't negotiate with everyone, so everyone was cool with it. But we're super free to do anything that we want. Very grateful to our investors, but I never need to justify anything. I still run it like it's my own company, and I think it's also very important if you're a founder. I made that mistake in my company before. Like never had that mindset like I have it now with Fonio. Like I truly didn't want to dilute. I truly didn't want to give up any equity in the company, but I thought it was the right decision to do so. Mm-hmm. And I'm so protective still because I'm so convinced that we will be $1 billion company within the next probably like 24 months or sooner. That I know that every % of equity is super, super important. And also the way we make decisions, like we feel so comfortable at the moment, like also leading this company. I don't want to give up any power at the moment because I know it would be the wrong decision. There will be moments in the future where we get out of because we know the playbook that we're doing right now with the hiring and etc. But there will be a certain stage of growth where we will need more guidance as well from people who have done it before. But this is why also like try to be very protective about the terms when we work with investors.
I think it's also a bit, I mean, it's just speculation from my side, but also a bit of a circle closing because you had so many experiences from such a young age. You went through marketing, you went through event organizing, then also leading a company and then selling a company. You had already so much experience on that you could really bootstrap that company to such an amount. It's crazy. And I think, like I told already, like a circle came to a close. But for our listeners, what is also important to note that you're 100% a European company so far. Why did you make the decision to stay in Europe?
Because I think it's important.
Do you think Europe, the EU especially, still can be relevant in the AI race?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. I would say more than just important. No. So again, wanted to move to the US also with the idea of let's build something large. There's so much capital, also so much talent in the US. But then at the same time, something that was kind of lacking for me was I felt like, okay, there are some core values, like the European core values are actually amazing. And if you stroll around the cities of San Francisco, like you have this hard contrast of like homeless people everywhere next to like the richest people on the planet. And that, to be honest, didn't feel right. Even though I'm, of course, a true capitalist, this didn't feel right. And I think Europe found a good way on finding like a sweet spot on how to also run a society. And I want to support that. And am I annoyed by a lot of stuff, a lot of regulatory stuff and how slow things move? 100%. But I think it's important that people take action and responsibility and try to change a lot of stuff. And also by, to be honest, paying a lot of taxes. Because like I'd be happy that if we're paying hundreds of millions of taxes a year with Fonio, and we can contribute to this country or to Europe. Because I think it's important, because if we don't do it, like our society won't work. Yes. This is the backbone, and this is so important. And this is something that truly gets me out of bed to I'm not the only one. I think there's now also like movement across founders in Europe, where the goal is to bring Europe back as a global player and to show that it's doable to build a truly global company from Austria, from Europe. Very challenging, but I love it. Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge to found in Europe?
To be honest, it's not so much notaries that they're annoying. They're annoying and expensive and everything. It's also annoying that everything takes so long. But I think this is not the biggest thing. For this is not something European, but more something that we very much experience in Vienna. Is, to be honest, talent. It's very hard to find people that come from this high growth environment with a crazy mindset. People that think very large, because the Austrian mindset in general is usually quite narrow-minded and small, and people hate on entrepreneurs, and there's a very bad conception about entrepreneurship and starting companies in general. And therefore it's a little bit like a chicken egg problem, because right now when we're trying to hire people, like what I see is like my expectations is I would love to hire people who came from companies that scaled like crazy before and that want to also become a global leader. But to be honest, there are, at least in B2B SaaS, I don't know, there's maybe a handful of these companies in Vienna, but no really large one. So where should I hire from for, and why would people actually be in Vienna that have this kind of mindset if there's no company here? This is something that's very challenging, but again, someone needs to start. So what we're doing right now, we're trying to relocate a lot of people from different countries all over the world to Vienna, because we're like, we want to build this from Vienna. But this one is very annoying. Yeah.
Wow. Is it difficult to convince people to move here?
Good thing is people usually have a positive perception about Vienna, because it's an amazing city to live in.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, it's a super high commitment that you need to do to leave everything behind and to move to Vienna or to any city in the world, right? So that's a large decision. So I guess it would be easier if people would live here.
Yeah, I agree. And I read somewhere that you have like a strict 25-minute slot schedule. Can you tell me more about that?
I don't have a 25 minutes slot schedule, to be honest, but we have a strict no meeting policy in general, or no recurring meeting policy.
Okay.
It's quite funny because I thought that we would have needed to start recurring meetings sooner. Then we're now 20 people. I think in 2 months we're probably like 30, and we don't have any recurring meetings. None. If you need a meeting, book it. We can do 5 hours, or we can do 15 minutes, I don't care. Usually it's more around the 25-minute mark. And this is so amazing. Like, because most recurring meetings, like short fixes, like everyone has this blocker in their calendar, but no one's really prepared, and they're like, fuck, I have this meeting now. And like, no one's really ready. So we just cut it. And it's working wonders. We're so efficient. Again, but this only works with the high amount of ownership that we have. Because if someone needs something, because they own the topic, they just go to someone and tell them. That's it. And sometimes, usually like a Slack message is enough, even though we're on site and working together. But on only very rare occasions, it actually makes sense to sit down and do a meeting for 30 minutes.
I agree. It's such an Austrian, and I don't know if it's just an Austrian, but at least European thing, because many friends that have founded in Germany also came across at similar things in companies. I agree about those meetings. They steal so much time.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And what's one hard reality that no one prepares you in being a founder, especially in Vienna?
I like the question. No one cares about you unless you deliver value. Truly, no one cares. If you do something great, people love you and are excited for you. If you don't, no one cares. Apart from your family, who just like you who you are, but like this can also be a very lonely journey, and you need to just take a lot of responsibility. And this is something that you truly need to be prepared to be a founder. And you also need to do all the uncomfortable stuff and just focus on, this sounds so unsexy, but just focus on how do I generate value for my customers in order to generate value. This is all you need to focus on when you start a business. Like all young, not all, but most young founders I talk to, like when I ask them what you want to do, like when you start a company, like everyone is like, I want us to, like, we're now thinking of a good name and logo, and we're going to these events, and we're networking, and screw it, you don't need it. All you need to do is you need to talk to customers. You don't even need a product. You just need to do this uncomfortable stuff, this really unsexy stuff, where you need to put yourself out there, talk to customers, and get rejection, and learn, and be fast.
Reminds me a bit of the quote that there are wrong decisions and there are difficult decisions. So most of the time, if you're the more difficult one, is most of the time the more right one. Like
maybe don't agree 100%, but I guess I do understand the quote in that sense.
Not every time, but yeah. And looking back, what kind of skills mattered for you the most?
In what context?
Your entrepreneurial journey to building Fonio, building your previous companies. Which skills have turned out to be really important for you?
To understand and read people. Again, I think culture inside a company is the single most important thing. Mm-hmm. If you lose that, you're done. You can have the most amazing team of A players, but if you don't have culture, you're done. Bernhard Nieser is also a big fan of that. Mm-hmm. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So and this responsibility lies with very heavy with me as a founder, and also with Matthew as my co-founder, that when we do hiring, the part where we spend the most time on is our cultural interview, where we truly dive deep into what makes a person happy and what doesn't make them happy. And we're very direct with all the things where we think this could actually be something where that will create a conflict later onwards, and try to set really realistic expectations. And we always try to undersell our company to see if we try to make it as bad as possible. If someone is then really hyped, then it's the right fit. So I think like understanding people, this is when you then scale a company, is probably like the core skill as a founder. And I'm just trying to think high level now, because also, of course, I could say like marketing, blah, 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 but this is like everyone has a different strengths. And apart from that, I'd say just endurance in general. You truly need to fall in love with the process, because it really also sucks to be a founder. Like I fell in love with the process, but if I would just tell you what I did all day long, like the individual tasks, they aren't super spectacular, but I just love the process. And if you're not crazy enough to like, that you're ready to get into a lot of risk financially, sometimes also legally, that you might end up wasting 5 years, 10 years of your life, that people perceive you within your friend group, especially when you start out, that this is a weird idiot, and if you're not cringe as a founder, you're doing something wrong, because you're putting yourself out there enough. I think like this is so important. So endurance to just like live through all the hard stuff, and to not try to get it through to that goal. Because people ask me right now, because I'm working usually from 9 a.m. to almost midnight every day at the moment. People ask me, how long are you doing this? I'm like, I know I can't keep doing it forever, and I need to also slow down every now and then. But I probably like for a long time now, if I want to make this truly large. And it's quite crazy to say that, right? But I love it.
It's like a good exhaustion after the end of the day.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of marathon training. You run so long, and most of the people think, "Why are you running?"
Yeah.
But when you finish the run, you're just happy you did it.
Yeah. It's like that. the one thing is that, for example, like in a best case scenario, I would never want to like to sell Fonio. That we would run forever. There's no finish line.
That's an even more ambitious run. But I think founding a company is difficult to like be compared to marathon running, because it's more like you're doing interval training all day long, because you have so many different tasks that you have to tackle on. It's like you're all the time like on full speed, and then you need to recover.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, like, even though I'm not saying I'm going super hardcore and I need to do this at the moment, realistically, like when you build a company, it is more like a marathon. So it's not a sprint, like it's not intervals. Because also when I talk to my team at the moment, I'm like, I have a hard time also as a manager on that point, because I tell them, to be honest, you have so much ownership. I want you to work as much as possible. I don't want to like look at your hours, but like we can truly win the moment. So I want you to work as much as possible, but please stay within a spectrum where you still remain happy as a human being.
That's important.
And that is like different for everyone else. Like some need to see their friends more and do more sports and do more family time and blah, 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 blah. And some don't need to do it as much. And I think this is something very important also when you build a company, that you still remain a human being and not just get caught up in all the hype and money and success. We're doing this to be happy at the end of the day. And yeah, so that's also very important.
And last but not least, we will also do some short rapid fire questions. But the last longer question is, when everything is stripped away, companies, exits, numbers, what would you hope people remember about you as a person?
That I was a good guy. I think this is the most important part. This is what my co-founder and I tell us all the time, is it doesn't matter how because right now it's a lot also from we're getting a lot of praise from all sides that we're growing so fast and so much hype and everything, and this can change you. And we also saw that in our environment with other founders who went through the phase. But at the end of the day, I think like the best part, if you just remain quite similar than when you started the company, just like, I don't know, humble, cool, chill to be around. I'd say that'd be enough. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, rapid fire questions. What's the fastest way to tell if someone is ready to be a founder?
They're truly excited about a problem, and they're willing to not just do it for a few months, but they're willing to do this for the next years, and they understand the pain and struggles that they will go through, and they embrace it. Because there's so many people that just are like, yeah, I'll become self-employed now, and then they do something for 5 months and they're like, this is actually quite annoying, and I won't get this overnight success. And you need to reflect on yourself. It's okay if you're that kind of person, but then I just wouldn't do it in general. You really need to fall in love with the process, the problem, and everything. Yeah.
What's the biggest red flag you look out for when hiring people?
Today I can already tell if I want to hire someone within like 1 minute or so. The crazy thing is like body language. Like when I get into a call, meeting, etc., is someone like open? I always ask myself the question, would I like to drink a beer with that person? And you can sense that with someone super fast. And apart from that, if someone makes up a lot of excuses and talks really bad about their former employee, like even though we're trying to hire a lot from other companies at the moment, like hopefully this company still like was nice to you, or at least tried to, and you devoted a lot of time of your life, so it can't be that bad. So why like go so hard? Of course there are exceptions, but this is usually a red flag when someone's just raging about their past employer.
I agree. What's the biggest lie students tell themselves?
Probably that studying in general is safe. I think what's super insane is if you study, don't work, and then you're done with your bachelor's or worse, master's, and then you're out there, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready. What are the possibilities? How can I get started? I think like this is a big lie that I see a lot. I'm not saying don't study. I'm saying like you need to understand that working, in my opinion, is more important than studying. Studying can be super helpful, but it's important to just understand how the world works, and also to understand for yourself what truly makes you happy. Because like worst case, you study for 5 years, 6 years, or like me, 7, 8 years, I don't know, whatever. And then you end up with your degree, and then for the first time, I don't know, you're into accounting or marketing or blah, and you're like, I actually don't like this. I mean, this is super crazy, right? So this is a big lie. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
And last question, what do you regret not trying?
This caught me off guard. There must be so many things. I can't think of, I'm a very straightforward guy. I try to always push myself out of the comfort zone, but there must be so many things. I guess now in the realm of all the business stuff that we talked about when I think with GetNano, my previous company, we actually had a lot more potential that we then performed. And I think the main factor is because we were too comfortable, and we also tried to make our lives easy with building the company, and we didn't talk with customers too much, and we didn't try to do crazy stuff. And I think this is something I regret, because I mean, I devoted like 4 or 5 years of my life to it. And looking backwards, the results weren't great. I mean, they were great learnings, and probably like I wouldn't have started Fonio with this, but this is something that I would probably like change to push myself out of the comfort zone and do all the stuff that's super annoying but necessary to build a company. Yeah.
But you can see the results now.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you very much for being my guest. I think it was a truly astonishing conversation with you. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me.
Thanks.
And wish you all the best. And I bet to have you as my guest back when you have your next big financial round.
Thanks. That's fun. Have a good one.